on this programme. He was leader then of the opposition, but now I'm delighted to be joined from Bangkok by the new Prime Minister of Thailand, Abhisit Wechachhiwa. Congratulations, Prime Minister.
Thank you.
How have the first few days been? More difficult than you expected or not?
No, I know very well that there are tough challenges ahead, and I've spent the last few days trying to meet as many groups as possible during the formation of the cabinet. So I begin to signal about what we want to do concerning the problems in the countryside, concerning the economy.
And how many, roughly speaking in terms of a percentage, how many in the final cabinet will have survived from the previous cabinet?
I haven't really counted. I'm just determined to get down to work.
But is the cabinet totally formed as of today?
Today's cabinet will be made up of a number of parties that were in the previous coalition, as well as parties that were dissolved by the Constitutional Court ruling. Yes.
What's the most dramatic difference in terms of what your party, the most dramatic difference compared with the last two governments?
We want to take the country forward. It will be different from the last year, which has been a lost year for Thailand. You might even say that we took a huge step backwards.
And what about Mr. Thaksin? Would you ever allow him to stand for election again?
Mr. Thaksin is like any other Thai. He should be under Thai law. He should come back and fight his cases, and if the courts rule that he should be punished, he must take that punishment.
Right, and then he might be able to stand again or not?
That's up to his qualifications. That will be according to the Constitution, like any other Thai.
The protests we've seen, rather spectacular, some of the pictures of the protests, but they were, relatively speaking, in terms of deaths and so on, they were, relatively speaking, peaceful protests. I mean, they were disruptive of the airport, but they weren't violent protests. Why was that? The people felt strongly.
I think that just shows that it is in the nature of the Thai people not to be violent. But there were a number of regrettable incidents, and we're determined that those were the things of the past.
And what's your first priority? The economy, is it?
The economy, of course, but related to that is that I also assume the chairmanship of ASEAN, and I'm determined that we will be ready to host the ASEAN summit by late January. That will be a way of restoring confidence and will help a lot in terms of make sure that the economy recovers.
And you've got to restore confidence too, I suppose, in the image of Thailand, those pictures of the riots and so on and so forth. Have they affected, for instance, tourism?
Of course. And I think it's understandable. You've been in the media for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, images are often a lot worse than the reality, and people only see those images. As I say, I'm sure that there are many people who are watching this program who know Thailand better. They have been familiar with Thailand as a land of smiles, land of the free, land of opportunity. And we're determined that that will all come back, while the pictures that you've seen over the last 2 to 3 years will no longer be seen.
In terms of the Democratic Party and so on, there are some of your supporters who want to sort of reduce democracy, really, I suppose, to the richer and to the more intelligent and so on. What do you think of that?
No, none of the Democrat Party members would want to reduce democracy. I have stood as a politician in democracy for 15, 16 years, and the party has stood for democracy for longer than 60 years. We want to take democracy forward. Democracy is not just majority rule, but it's all about good governance, accountability, transparency. These are the things that were destroyed during the Thaksin years. We want to restore that without affecting the key principle of democracy, which is one man, one vote.
I see, yes, absolutely. And so free speech will remain?
Of course. Free speech and freedom of expression and any exercise of constitutional rights must be respected.
And to what extent do you rely on the support of the king and the monarchy? It's important for people to realize the king is behind you too, isn't it?
No, the monarchy is above partisan politics, is above all political conflicts, and we're determined to keep it that way.
Right, so you won't involve the king in your policies?
No, and indeed, my first speech to the Thai people, I have expressed my determination to protect this most revered institution by not allowing anybody to draw such an institution into political conflict.
Well, that's very clear that you're going to do that. And so how long do you think it will take to turn around, Prime Minister, turn around the image of Thailand, to get it back on the right footing?
Well, I hope it will be as soon as possible. And I think one concrete step is that when we host the ASEAN Summit, you will now see the images of Thailand that welcomes foreign leaders and safe.
Yes, and that will be a potent plus. And in general, in addition to the problems you were talking about of the Thai economy, to what extent, Prime Minister, does the worldwide climate of the economies of the world affect you? How much does that have an impact on Thailand? Or are you, because you're further away from America or wherever, or are you free of that?
Well, we're a very open economy. We're bound to be affected, but we're helped by the fact that the health of our financial institutions were relatively good compared to most countries in the world. So we were able to handle the direct financial effects. But obviously, as there is a downturn in the our key trading partners, our exports are affected, and tourism is affected, and we need to find ways of correcting that.
And to those people, those critics or cynics who say that this government will only last another 3 or 4 months, and then there'll have to be another new government and so on, and that in that sense Thailand's rather unstable, what do you say to those doubters, to those critics?
Well, what matters to me is not how long this government lasts, and if the changes of government come according to the Constitution, that's fine. What matters more to me is that every single day that we spend as government, we do it in a way that help the country and help lift the people out of the suffering that they've gone through over the last 2-3 years.
Prime Minister, thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and I know you've got lots to do. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.